I want to welcome BeBe Winans, who is a member of one of the top families in gospel music. He's also a 6-time Grammy winner. He performs and writes music and produces music. Of course, you live in Nashville, so
Yes.
that's what happens in Nashville.
That's, yeah, Nashville is known, a great haven for songwriters and singers.
And you have a new album, America, America,
America, America.
which you released in June. You're doing your first tour in 15 years with Dave Koz, who's a smooth jazz artist.
Right.
You have a Broadway play you're working on about your life.
Uh-huh.
And this new book called The Whitney I Knew, about your longtime friendship with Whitney Houston. You are a busy guy.
I'm a busy BB, if you want to put it that way. And I didn't plan for all of it to happen at the same time. But it's, you know, I've been working on the America, America album for a good year and a half. It's something that I said to myself when I felt the inspiration to do it, question, why would I do a patriotic album? No one has ever done a whole patriotic album. There wasn't
Really?
even a genre for a patriotic album. So I confused, you know, even the distribution companies and the outlets saying, we'll have no, you know, genre for that.
Were they skeptical of it at first, the idea?
Everybody I talked to was skeptical. And now they're coming on board, you know, with this being the season of election season.
And these songs, because they are patriotic songs and they've been out there for a long time, you don't pay any kind of copyright or any kind of publishing.
Yeah, but I'm a smart person too. I was going to say a smart boy. I also wrote 3 patriotic songs for this patriotic album. I think it's always important to think in a business, you know, way, and be able to, you know, achieve something on that matter as well.
America, America, land that I love.
And you are a businessman. You have worked, of course, with established major record labels,
Yes.
but you've also had your own label, and as we talked earlier, you said that you actually do distribution deals, which means
That's all.
that your name is out there,
Right.
but the record company handles the distribution. You
Right.
get a bigger cut of that?
Bigger cut of that, and beyond the financial cut of that, I also stay in the creative control of what I do, which is so important, you know. Whether it makes $1 million or $1, it is what I want to do. And so I think I've earned that, you know, over the years. Yet and still, I think, you know, it's just being smarter, you know. But I'm glad to be still in the game and still understand the game, which is, I think, very important.
It's been 15 years since you've been on the road.
Yes.
I've seen your concerts, so you do perform with your sister, CeCe.
Right.
Why so long to go on a tour?
You know, I fell in love with behind the scenes, and I still love behind the scenes. So there was no need for me to go on the road. I made most of my money from songwriting. So, you know, I think some of your brokest people are just singers.
Right.
And I have a love still to sing, but my love is writing songs. It has always been. So it was easy for me to come off the road. I have 2 lovely children. I wanted to spend time with them at that, you know, real important age. And so I said goodbye to the road and enjoyed, and it was Dave Koz doing a good act. I mean, constantly, you know, chiseling at me to come and do this. And I'm glad I did. I'm having a great time, but I encourage people to come out and see me because I don't know when the next time I'll be there.
And of course, the Winans family, you have the big church in Detroit. You have R&B Mario, who wrote I Don't Want to Know, and he works with Bad Boy Productions, and then you're a big gospel entity. When people call you an R&B singer, it kind of confuses me because I think of you as gospel, but you do R&B as well.
Well, I learned early on. Some people still call me CeCe, and I still answer. I found out that it's easier just to go with it. So knowing who I am and what I'm all about, it is always, I think it's just always a smart thing to let people they're gonna label you anyway. No matter how many times I told someone I'm BeBe, they still gonna call me CeCe. So no matter where our music is coming from, they still gonna say, you know, you're an R&B singer, you're a pop singer, or this and that. Really, labels makes no difference to me, as long as the music is being played and people are hearing and connecting.
We talked about songwriting. One of your Grammys is for the song "Jesus Loves Me" from The Bodyguard with Whitney Houston. You produced that song. For an artist who really didn't get the chance to write like you have. I want to talk about Whitney Houston. Did Whitney Houston really write songs, or was she really more one of those artists that
She was one of those artists that just performed. There's a song that I produced on her that was on the I'm Your Baby Tonight album, but it was on the overseas album releases. And so the song that I wrote, I was over her house and I said, you're gonna write a song, because she had never written anything. And so I sat her down on the piano and she said, this is too hard. It's not too hard, just say anything, just whatever you feel, you know, and so she ended up being a part, but she was a part for about 5 minutes. She didn't have, you know, just the mentality of sitting there and waiting on something, you know, to come. So you have those type of artists. Now, on the other side of that, you have a Mariah Carey, who is an incredible writer, who writes, you know, mainly all of her songs and sings as well. So Whitney was just one of those people that it was just not her interest. She wasn't interested in writing.
And in the music industry, especially today, when digital has come in and it's harder to actually sell music, writing is so important. So being a one-dimensional performer, that's not great, is it?
It isn't, especially when you're talking about the financial security.
We talked a little bit about labels and how people, you know, think of you as a gospel singer. I have a friend who's a very famous R&B singer. And I told him, you grew up in the church, you got this great gospel voice, why don't you do a gospel record? And he told me, because I'm not leading my life in the way that I should to be able to record a gospel album. Is there pressure on a gospel singer to, you know,
be more of a
morally superior
pedestal
person?
I say there's some, you know, I would answer him in 2 different ways. Probably a yes and a no. People are going to put pressure on you if you allow them to. One thing my father said to us, he said, I want you guys to be confident in what you do, but I want you to know who you are before you get out there and people start telling you who you are. So I know who I am. And knowing who I am is knowing that I'm not perfect. Knowing who I am is that I'm going to fail here and there. I'm human. And so I never, no matter what I'm singing, I sing what I believe. So if he sings a song that he believes in, then he should sing that song.
And that's a perfect segue into Whitney Houston, because that seems to be both the struggle that she had, but it never seemed that she ever struggled with her faith, that she always was a devout believer in the Christian faith. But it was hard for a lot of people to resolve, how could this person that is such a devout Christian still struggle with drugs?
Well, no matter what the struggle is, my answer is so simple to anyone who asks that type of question. She was human. She was human. And if you're human and you live in this world, you're going to have struggles. Now, what that struggle is, now what is important to me is that, and I say this in the book, because my struggle is not alcohol, because my struggle is not drugs, I'm not one to sit and demeanor or talk down about those who have those struggles. I have struggles, you know, and so it's not a good struggle or a bad struggle. Struggles are struggles, but we all are human beings, and so that simply means we're not perfect. We're gonna endure hardships, and one of the things that you said though was true. Whitney knew no matter what that God loved her, and that was her comfort zone.
You wrote the book, The Whitney I Knew. According to reviews and to your publicist, you were a friend of hers for 28 years. You wrote this book with the blessing of her family, that's what the publicist said, largely as a therapeutic measure to help yourself deal with the loss of a friend.
understanding loss, lost my brother, lost my father, one of the things that gets you through it is embracing it. Now, most difficult when you lose someone for the first time that you love and learning how to embrace that. With Whitney's death, I understood, and I didn't know how I was going to embrace it,
Right.
but writing the book was the perfect thing for me to embrace the pain and come out on the other side of this horrible loss.
Yes.
And this reality that we all had to face. But at the same time, it was so important too for me to speak of the 97% of who she was that the tabloids and the headlines forgot to tell.
Right.
You know.
And you obviously were a very close friend. You sang at the funeral. Your brother delivered the eulogy.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the funeral,
Mm-hmm.
and you spoke in a very loving way about her before you started your first song.
Before I started crying.
You had a really kind of a fun-loving, she had a real sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really clear from your writings and your heartfelt words that you love this woman. But like so many of her friends that have spoken publicly, I sense a real desire to protect her,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
almost to the point of not really fully accepting, being able to accept that she had a drug problem, probably out of pain or hurt. Is that the case?
Well, the case with me, you know, before some things before the news or the world received it, I knew about because we had a sanctuary between us. You know, so a lot of things that Whitney dealt with, I knew about. And a lot of things that I dealt with, because it's a two-way street to have a relationship, it goes both ways. And so she knew about. So at the end of the day, what we had most importantly was a sanctuary. You know, when you get to that kind of place that Whitney was at, your friends sell you out, some families sell you out, and you have no one to talk to. And we all need one another. And so I became, and I'm sure there's others, someone that she could talk to and know that is staying right here.
Sure, and literally in her case, as I'm sure that you can relate, having been a celebrity and being a celebrity yourself, that she was sold out. People sold pictures of her casket, of her.
Man, that was hard. That was hard. That's hard, but that was her reality. It was her reality for 20-something years of her life.
This kind of protectionism that I'm talking about for the people who love celebrities and want to protect them, not as celebrities, but as people. Isn't that one of the reasons why it's hard for people like Whitney Houston and Michael Jackson and Kurt Cobain and Elvis and all of these great people who really struggled with drugs to truly recover, because the people who loved them are in somewhat of a denial sometimes about. I mean, did you try an intervention? I'm not
some
going
people
in on
deal
you,
with.
but did you try an intervention?
No,
Were there things?
some people live in denial. You have to understand, and I don't even for a moment believe that everyone will understand the kind of relationship that we had, because it was our relationship. So
Right.
I never really care about what people think. I know the relationship that we have, and
I know, but if you
share
write,
that.
if you write a book about it,
right, if you write
then-
it, no, what I'm saying, everything in there is true, and I deal with everything. At the same time, I think people get it wrong, I really do.
Right.
I think love, true love, I'm not talking about anything else, but true love, if I'm a man of faith, I really believe what the Bible says. And the Bible says that love covers a multitude of faults and failures. So my covering Whitney or anyone that I love does not mean I don't deal with the reality of it, but I'm covering it from you for those who don't love her. I'm covering it from that will hurt. You know, I'm not, just skimming over the thing and we're not talking. Well, we talked of A to Z. You know, sometimes she wanted to talk to me about it, sometimes she didn't want to talk to me. But it made no difference because we had a pact.
And I guess, what I'm really trying to get at is in your relationship with her, when she did talk to you about that, because she trusted you, what was her pain? What was this internal struggle that she consistently went through? Because at her funeral and knowing her family and everything, you know that she was a woman of faith, and she had to be
Well, I think
struggling all
that's
the time.
easy. I think one of the things that people don't understand on that level is pressure. I'm a singer, and I think I do pretty well as a singer. I really think I can hold my ground.
Yes,
Okay, but Whitney, in traveling with Whitney, mainly on the Bodyguard soundtrack tour, I was amazed at how this woman could stand flat-footed and sing these type of songs. You know, because me singing it in the back room fall apart after about a half an hour. But this woman
because
could
the range was
and just the
extraordinary.
difficulty and the, you know, people think, oh, it's because she made it seem so, you know, effortless. But the pressures that come with the fact of, I'm sick tonight, I got a cold, you know, 9-to-5 job, you can call in, you know what I'm saying?
Business.
It's
Yeah.
a business, and
It's a
I'm not
business.
coming in tonight, but,
You better believe
but the pressure of, I'm sick today, but there's 50,000 people out there that have paid a whole bunch of money, and there is sponsorships, and if I don't go out there, I'm gonna be sued. Oh, it's a whole nother ball game.
And you could relate to her. So did she talk to you about
but
that
I'm just
pressure?
saying, those kind of pressures,
Yeah.
I think anybody who finds themselves in any type of addiction is dealing with that addiction because of pressures.
And towards the end of her life, it did seem that she did make an effort to get better.
It was,
And-
trust me, the most difficult part about her death is that it caught us all off guard. Because she had walked through the real dark place already, and we felt, oh, this is good. We're gonna make it, you know. And so she was in a good place, caught us all off guard.
Yeah. And when you went about writing the book, one of the things that, and I wanted, just for the sake of full disclosure, Dr. Houston, when people talk about the book and they say, oh, you know, it was written with the blessing of the family. Dr. Houston has said she didn't have a problem with the book, but she said that the first time that she learned about the book was in the newspaper. Have you talked to the family? Because I think that one of the things about this is that Dr. Houston has a book coming out next year in February. And I think the big issue with the family is that they want to be the first to weigh in on what Whitney meant to the world.
I don't think that's true, but I don't question anything that anyone would say, especially those who are very, very, very close. What I've learned through loss, this is what I've learned through loss, through personal loss, whether it's Whitney, whether it's my father, whether it was my brother. I have people who were at the funeral and said, I talked to you at the funeral, but I don't remember talking to them at the funeral because the loss is so painful.
Okay.
So I know what I share is true, and that's all I can really put forth on that.
When you worked with her in the studio and you think back to those sessions, what was it like?
Oh,
what was
man.
it like being behind the board? And
It was just like a piece of heaven. There was one moment when I produced Gladys Knight, and Whitney used to laugh because as much as I loved her, she knew she could only be number 2. That number 1 slot was taken by Gladys Knight. Has always been to me the greatest singer in the world.
what about Aretha? Come on.
Aretha's, I love her.
You're a Detroit guy.
I'm a Detroit guy, yeah, but they all know, you know.
Okay.
My number 1 slot is
Probably the most
Gladys
controversial
Knight.
thing you've said in this interview.
Maybe so, but they know. I'm not worried. They know. And so when I produced something on Gladys, I remember I was sitting behind the thing and she was in the studio and no music was coming out. And she said, "What's wrong? I don't hear nothing in my ears." I said, "I can't do this. I can't do this. I just really, it hit me that you're Gladys. I can't do this." And then she said, "Boy, if you don't shut up and just push that thing with your finger." And Whitney was the same way, but there was a relationship that had evolved into such a family thing till there was no fear. Now, when she started singing, I realized, oh, yeah, you are Whitney Houston, you know. But it was just fun. It was just like kids in a candy store. We didn't want to stop singing.
Did she sing things straight through, or did she do it in pieces, or what?
Oh,
did she
we
like
would
that
stop
live feel?
we would stop when we needed to stop. But you know, with me, when I produce vocals, I like to go to the end, even if you cough in it. Just keep on going, because there's something about, you know, just singing it all the way through and then going back. So a lot of times, you know, she was mad with me in the studio because I didn't get impressed with a lot. You know, I wanted more, you know, so she was, you know, kind of happy when other people was producing her, because I would work her hard.
BeBe Winans, thank you so much.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
And with BeBe Winans, I'm Lee Hawkins with the Business of Celebrity. We'll see you next time. It was clear that the family had gone to great lengths to ensure that while her fans would be able to see the telecast, the actual service would feel private.
My life changed, but I'm honestly from a small town, so like everybody's already known all my business and has their 2 cents to say. Like, that's been my life since I was born.